Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Punaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahe Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om. Svetasvatara Upanishad. We are on the 16th verse of the first chapter. That's page 98. Sarva Vyapi Namatmanam Kshire Sarpiriva Arpitam Atma Vidya Tapo Moolam Tad Brahmo Upanishad Param Tad Brahmo Upanishad Param. He realizes or sees the self, which, like clarified butter inherent in milk, is all pervasive and which is the source of self knowledge and concentration, as that Brahman on which is established the highest good. So we have, as we've seen this analogy used repeatedly, as butter is inherent in milk, and you've got to churn it out. So as you keep on churning it out, what happens is one discerns the self in everything. It's all pervading. Now, there is, why don't we see that reality? We need to go through a kind of a discipline that will give us a kind of a concentration. Now, that's the reason why they're saying it is the word uses concentration. Concentration is the key. When we say, why can't we use uh, this knowledge and understand it? Yes, it needs a little penetration, it needs a little purification, it needs a little bit of push, and it needs that knowledge where exactly is the root, where exactly is the doorway, where exactly do I push in order to gain that knowledge. As the sage says, that it is all pervasive. When I say when he says it's all pervasive, now what exactly is that reality is all pervasive, but it is hidden within, inside everything. And like the illustration that's given is like butter, which is present in milk. Until and unless you churn it out, when we've seen what we need to churn it out, we need a practice, and that practice and a symbol also. Now, when we say, we have discussed what's a symbol, that symbol is Om. Here, the sage, he is trying to conclude this first chapter. He had started off with what is the cause of this universe, and various things were presented as answering to this question of what is the cause of the universe: time, or inherent nature, or you can say destiny, or whatever. And they were all dismissed, and it was finally declared that it is that Devatma Shakti, the luminous deity hidden in its own effects, in its own powers, that is the cause of it. Because you need to have a cause of this universe as something divine. If we are going to realize divinity, if this thing was not there in the beginning, it is not going to be there at the end. If the cause is divine, then the effects also will be divine. And yes, it is. But where are the effects? We cannot see it. It's hidden like butter and milk. But saying, what is the reason for it to be hidden? And you'll say, well, it is that creative power that has thrown up this whole universe, because this universe is felt here, is what we apprehend. We perceive two things simultaneously. One, the visible, and the invisible. What do you mean by invisible? Somewhere deep down, that divinity calls up to us. You know, like in the Bible also, it come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. In the Bhagavad Gita, it says, Daivi Esha Gunamai. This my Maya is divine. But those who come to me will cross over this. We have all through been divinity asleep. And this sage is telling us, now you got to wake up. Because if you're potentially not divine, then you can never attain divinity. If it is something to be acquired, oh, I am a human and this is some divinity, I'm going to acquire it. No, I am divine. Then I've got to wake up from that slumber. And that slumber has been there with us for a very long time. And that's the reason why we need to push it out. And how do you push it? Through meditation, through that symbol of Om. When we, this same consciousness, the same divinity, when it looks outside in this world of creation, you see what happened? The root itself is divine, and that is mixed up with this creation. This creation also is divine, uh, because we have a tendency, or this person or that thing or this situation is horrible, and we have been deluded with that kind of thought, that idea. Oh, what's this is bad, and this is evil, and this is the devil, and this is the devil's doing. This is not me. It was like my alter ego, my bad self was doing it. When our eyes are cleared from this delusion, we'll see everything is divine. But till we do, we've got to push, and that is through meditation. So the same consciousness which is there all pervading, it has to be now discovered within oneself first. You cannot discover it first outside. You've got to discover it within itself. And once we can do that, the same consciousness now, which is like kind of diffracted outside through the senses and through the mind, and it's going, they have to be gathered up and gathered and turned inwards. And when it turns into this gathering, is that austerity, that's that concentration, they say. And when you direct that concentrated self of yours, consciousness within itself, that is self knowledge. You gain the knowledge of the self, yourself. first, and then we have the next stage is the universal self. Then you find that you have been part of that universal self. That universal self, as we know, is divinity. The word used is, the first word is Sarva Vyapina Atmanam. Now, this is what they say, that in the second line of this, in the translation, is all pervasive. Now, this has to be understood. This is all pervasive. That which is subtle, that which is the hidden cause of everything, is within everything. It is all pervasive in the sense of it pervades everything. And in Vedanta, we have this from Brahma, Brahma, till the blade of grass, Thamba Pariyanta. It is there, pervasive. This is the highest teaching, the highest secret teaching. The last words have been repeated two times because it's a kind of signal that this is the conclusion of the chapter. That this is the here in our book is translated as that Brahman, the last line, on which is established the highest good. This is one translation. The other translation, the much better translation, is that this is that is Brahman, and this is the highest teaching regarding that. Upanishad means a secret teaching. What else is there in the Upanishad? It teaches you that here you are that divine being that you've been seeking for. And it's not only you, insulated, isolated, or just one single entity and the rest all are non-entities. No, everywhere is that all pervasive, you can say, divinity. Now, this is the highest teaching of the Upanishads. Swami Vivekananda says, sinner, it is a standing libel on human nature to call a man so, a person so. Ye are all divinities. And you see, the luminous ones. And in this very Upanishad, is saying, Shrinvantu Vishri Amritas, you are all children of immortal bliss. Why do you call yourself, or why do we call others as something other than this? We are that children of immortal bliss. And this is to be actualized. And once we can do that, so the Upanishad say this is the highest teaching. And what is the highest teaching? That we are that divine being. This concludes the first chapter on the Svetasvatara Upanishad. We will go to the next chapter. I'll read the verse, please. That's page number 101. 101. While first engaging my mind and the organs, sensory organs, may the sun, having in view the light of fire, place it on the earth for the sake of knowledge. Now, suddenly there is this chapter will deal with meditation. Because after presenting that deity, that luminous deity, as within oneself, and as also all pervasive, what the sage is now giving us is the means. And what is the means? The means is yoga. And in this Upanishad, yoga, the principles of yoga have been clearly delineated. The very seeds of the yoga practices, which were much later codified by Patanjali, is here. There are two things. This practice of yoga did not just come about, okay, we'll sit down and do meditation. Oh, and this is the way to meditate. No, this verse and the other four verses that precede, that follow this, are nothing but prayers. Prayers while doing a particular ritual called a yajna. And when you say, why do we need to pray? And why do we need to bring out some old prayers? Because these four or five mantras are already existing in some of the older liturgical texts connected with rituals. That is for recording purposes. Taittiriya Upanishad, Vajaseni Upanishad, and they form the part of the Yajurveda. This book also is Yajurveda, part of Yajurveda. So when Svetasvatara is teaching the students, he is referring to these verses. It is a given that they are acquainted with these verses already. He is hoisting them out from a kind of a ritualistic setting now into the present setting, which is the knowledge of Brahman, of knowledge of the Atman. Why? These verses are for the purposes of internalizing that idea. When you do a ritual, you it's it's a it's taken for granted that that God whom you worship now is outside, and that's the reason why you have a ritual. Either you pray or you have a kind of a mantra, or you have those flowers, and then this sandal paste, and this all this. There's a whole lot of, you can say, ritual that the deity is outside you. As a person keeps on advancing in knowledge, what happens is those ideas are internalized, and as the internalization process keeps on going, the same mantras can be used also for internalization purposes. So those prayers which were, you know, uh, uttered for particular deities needs to be again prayed to. Now we are talking about meditation. Why should we pray? Why should we pray? Let us meditate. No, prayers precede meditation, and this is one you can say error that a lot of teachers commit. Oh, you don't need to pray. You don't need to. You can straight go and plunge into meditation. It doesn't happen like that, because you find in our traditions also we have something called a mental worship. You all initiated, who the initiated in, there's something called mental. After that mental worship is then you commence the actual meditation. So it is, what happens is there are in Vedanta certain deities, smaller deities within ourselves. Oh, really? Yes, those who have studied a little Vedanta, each faculty, every sense organ has a presiding deity. Now the sun, ah, the sun is the presiding deity of the eyes. Ah. And yeah. And if Suryo Yata Sarva Lokasa, he is the presiding deity of the eyes. Imagine if there was no sun, and its other symbol on earth is fire. So we are connected with it. Now, what is the sun? Is the sun outside? This is a visible symbol. we had seen one more symbol called Om. You can meditate on that and use it as a kind of a churning rod to extract that reality. Another symbol is a symbol for sun. Now, most of these ancient cultures, they were all sun worshippers, and as a consequence, the fire worshippers. You see, Zoroastrianism, and you have even, in fact, in Vedanta and Hinduism, it's all everywhere. Most of these, probable that we sat down front of these fires at night and told old tales of heroism and all this, and it was also kind of a dispeller of that darkness, the predator sitting behind in the darkness. So the fire was a kind of a comfort. It's probable that it's commenced from there. And the sun is also called the impeller, the one who is the source of all life. And as we hear, so it is the sun that inspires. Now, when you say inspires, that deity associated with that sun is the one who inspires. And what does that symbol inspire within us? Our intellect. It's a dhya. Now, when you say, what is this intellect dhya? Dhi. Dhi is a buddhi. Dhi is the awakened form of intelligence. Yes. So there's a very common prayer called the Gayatri Mantra that people, Om Bhur Bhuva Swa Tat Savitur. Hey, Savitur. Hey, that deity associated with that sun who has this world, the intermediate worlds, and the higher worlds as limbs of. May you inspire our intelligence. It's not praying for, oh God, give me a BMW or give me a, give me a, give me. No. What are these people praying? They're praying for an enlightened intellect that can discern truth from falsehood, right from wrong, and it can penetrate into its own depths. It can neutralize those shadows which are there, hiding there. So here we have this D has to be awakened. And they said the the location of this D is the ear in the heart. It's just when it is awakened, everything becomes awakened within you. So if that is not awakened, then we are still asleep. That divinity within us is still slumbering, is still sleeping. So here he's saying he's praying to the mind and the sense organs while first engaging my mind and the organs. Why do my mind and why do my sense organs need to be engaged? Because if I'm not engaging them, I will see the world as a kind of a duality. Me separate and this world is separate. And I see that same unawakened intelligence as an ego. That ego is what gives us, various types of mask. We put on a kind of a show and we interact with this world. That's no sign of intelligence. Mm. We are supposed to come and start aligning ourselves. So this ego keeps on deluding us. The mind keeps on deluding us. The senses keep on deluding us. So first it's a prayer. All these deities associated with this mind and senses, please be propitious to me. Please be beneficent towards me. Imagine if I'm sitting quietly and then my ear keeps on listening to somebody who's talking on the phone there. God, then I'll be meditating on what? On that gossip. Instead of meditating on the deity within, meditating on the gossip. So that's the reason why, because it is in Vedanta, your sense organs, the sensory and the motor organs, your body and your mind is all a part of divinity. And once we can understand this, that it's a part of that divinity and that divinity has to be awakened. This divinity has been given the, you can say, the concept of various deities. Like there's one deity, one self, and that self has got various aspects. So when you have speech, what is speech? That's fire, the deity of fire. Okay? And then we have the sense of smell. That's the deity of, you can say, the earth. So various deities are there connected with a body, not just your body. Those deities are there everywhere. Sri Ramakrishna gives a nice example. There was once a person who had, you know, built a beautiful garden, and a cow enters that garden and keeps on, as you know, eating the flowery shrubs and all these things. And he was so annoyed, he ran towards it and hit it with that his staff. And he hit it so badly, it died. And then suddenly he was okay. The killing of a cow was considered a big sin, because in those days it was an agricultural society, and cow was a wealth. It was as good as killing somebody or somebody's son or somebody's daughter or something like that. Now he had studied a little Vedanta, so he's saying, "Oh, that cow is dead. The hand that hit it, actually, the presiding deity of my arms is Indra, the god Indra. So Indra has done it, and the sin, that is the demerit, comes to him first as a kind of a blackish cloud. Because wait, what happened? Indra has killed that cow. Oh, really? Oh, sorry. It goes to Indra, and Indra is sitting in his heavenly abode, and that sin wants to come enter his body, saying, "Just a moment, what's wrong?" Saying, "You killed a cow. I'll get to the bottom of this." He comes down. He puts on a kind of a disguise and comes. Oh, it's a beautiful garden. He tells them, oh, yes. And he's saying, oh, it's the beautiful shrubs and flowering plants. And who did it? I did it. I did it. And then he slowly leads him towards that cow. Hey, what's this? He keeps quiet. You rascal. You did everything. Huh? And when it comes to the cow, Indra did that. Take back your sin. And that sin, like a kind of a cloud, enters into him. So it's like that. Uh, this gives us an idea that also it should awaken us. And that's the idea, that every limb in my body, every faculty in my body and mind has a presiding deity. So here, I'm already divine. I'm filled with divinities. And now, what I should do, it curbs all your, say, tendencies of hate or anger or jealousy, everything. You've got, because these deities are there within me. And those deities are there within that person also. How can I hate and who can hate? So it brings a kind of a restraint to oneself. And that is the idea of yoga. What is yoga? Is restraining the mind stuff from breaking out into waves. Yoga's chittavriti nirodha. So, and then once I restrain, what happens is Vivekananda gives a nice example. Suppose you shoot a cannonball, it goes to a distance and falls down. Now, suppose you once again fire a cannon, but this time the cannonball hits a wall. And what does it do? It generates heat. The first was just a frittering away of energy. The second was it generates heat. So every action that comes out from us, if it is restrained, if it is divinized, it will result in power returning back to us. That's the idea. These prayers that we will see in the first 5 mantras are prayers to those divinities and a call to us to keep on restraining ourselves. Wait, don't do that. You can't be jealous. You can't be annoyed. What's that? You are now even going against those deities within you and the same deities in other people also. You're going against your own divine nature. Why do you want to blame somebody for all your pain and sorrow? You're going against your nature. There you are. So it starts getting a kind of an awakening. Your intellect, your dhi, gets a kind of an awakening. Oh, this is what it is. Okay. Nobody to praise, no one to blame. It's just that I've got to realize my divine nature. And what happens when I realize my divine nature? Oh, it's bliss and bliss and bliss. And it is so extensive. There you will find you are immortal. Oh, children of immortal bliss. There you are. Even those who live in the higher spheres. I have found the ancient one who is beyond all darkness and beyond death. And knowing him alone, one attains that immortal. Here we are this mantra which Vivekananda uses in his paper on Hinduism at the World Parliament of Religions is taken from this Upanishad, Svetasvatara Upanishad. So it is a call for us to wake up. So these old liturgical verses are used now as a kind of an internalization of that whole idea. So we are going to sit down and meditate. Yes. First, pacify all those deities within you. And once those deities are pacified, there comes yoga automatically. You're saying, I've been meditating. There was a yesterday there was a guy saying, you know, can you feel this? I said, what's that? There's a pink light in this beads rosary, rose. And I said, I don't see any pink light. Oh, poor man. So I said, no, I'm not a poor man. You're the poor man to have such delusions. You touch it and see. I held that bead. You feel anything? I said, don't feel anything. And that's what it's supposed to be. You're not going to feel anything. You touch a bead. You really? You don't? Are you sure? I told him, yeah, I'm sure. I've got 50 years behind me. I came to religion as a young boy. And you're talking about, and you've just got a couple of years. Yes, that's true. Yeah. So quiet down. Don't have a kind of a wrong perception of religion. Don't make it mysterious. Don't make it esoteric. Divinity is there just to be realized. Just open eyes. And we made a big mystery out of this whole thing. It's hidden. It is meant for only a few. It is meant for this and meant for that. And no, no, you cannot. No, it's there. We, uh, Amrita said, we are all heirs to this immortality. Why do you make a mystery out of it? Why don't you tell that person? Oh, no, no, he's not qualified enough. What if he's not qualified enough? It is his or her divine nature. And Sri Ramakrishna, says that there are two types of persons. One is when a person gets a mango, he will quietly eat it and wipe out all traces. That's and another person gets a mango, he will seek people outside whom he can share. That is the ripe, you can say, the ego. And the first one is the raw ego. The ripe ego, the person who is matured, he or she will find joy in sharing. And that's the idea. Because the others are just that Atman multiplied. There is no stranger. Mother's last words are, no one is a stranger, my child. Make the whole world your own. This is, mother never spoke, read the Upanishads, or probably must have heard. But all her words and all her actions were nothing but a demonstration of these Upanishadic truths. Make the whole world your own, my child. No one is a stranger. Here you are. And it tells us what this sage Svetasvatara is trying to convey towards in various mantras and teachings. So why don't we realize that it is because of some of the deities which not yet awakened needs to be awakened. And the first step is you commence by propitiating them, praying to them. So here the sun is the source of everything, the source of all deities also. It's the sun, Savitur. Here he's saying, Yunjana pratamam manas tvaya savita dhiya agnir jyoti nichaya prithivya adhya abharat. While first engaging my mind and the organs, may the sun, that is the Savitur, having in view the light of fire, place it on the earth for the sake of knowledge. So there, place it on the earth. That was the ritualistic portion of the hymn. Place it on the earth. So I can now commence my rituals. In this case now, once the ideas have been internalized, place that light within me. Here it is. So once that, and for what? For the sake of knowledge. And what knowledge? Ramakrishna says, the knowledge of the many is ignorance. Knowledge of the one is knowledge. Now, knowledge of the one. So suppose I keep on playing only one note. I had only one note. Sa. What about the other notes? No, that's ignorance. No. You see that vibration of sa in all the notes. The opening note itself is there in all. All other notes embody that one note. All of us embody that one reality. So once you have the knowledge of that reality, you know everything. No. And that's the for the sake of knowledge of Brahman. Yeah, yeah. Why should God place, why should you place it within you? Because for the knowledge of the year. You are now clear. Why are you striving for yoga? For the knowledge of Brahman. No, I want health and I want wealth and I want this and I want that. That's not the goal of yoga. It may have some spin offs. You may be healthy and you may be, can say, mentally alert. Or if you open a yoga studio, you can have a lot of money also. That also is there. But this knowledge of yoga should lead us to the knowledge of the Atman, the self. Because that is what we really, suppose you think, we had discussed this, like, who am I? Yeah, that is that you got to ask yourself, who am I? First, we encounter that ego, as I said. And after we transcend that ego, we come to our real self. It's not just a super ego, we come to our real self. And that real self is that which is there pervading everything. So we stop here for now. We can ask questions. What else? I have some.